are core to their ideological existentiality. And the problem of our country is about spending. We think much about spending. And even tomorrow, as he speaks today, he's going to speak about figures. And these figures are figures that must be interrogated by our country. Are they realistic figures? Is it where we are? The last State of Nation address projected Ugandans to be at the state of the middle state income. Is it true that they are? And yet you're passing trillions of money for PDM. You're telling a country it has taken off to middle state income. But then you have rolled out a program down on the grassroots to help your people survive, because it is a survival program, basically a survival program. There's no way you'll have productivity out of 1 million shillings, because this has been done. You know, they talked about, I was young then, with those first programs of Entandikwa and others. But you know the Youth Lively program, where they talked about 12 youth coming together, and then they are given 12 million, and then they do something. Genome 7 in that very program carried a sack of money to Kaliro. If you go back and look at the footprint of those sacks of money in Kaliro, they are nowhere. Agriculture productivity, the irrigation schemes that are supposed to be advanced to the 21st century. Because if you're going to improve agriculture, we should stop thinking about the manual agriculture that we have been doing for the last 30 years. At this age and era, it is more of technological and mechanical agriculture. That is when you will benefit, both at the level of seed, of harvesting, of planting, of cultivating. It must all be technological in advancement to match, one, the quantities desired international for the international market, but also to be sure of the quality that you're producing given other vis-a-vis markets. Because Uganda is endowed with land, and not just land, fertile land. If you go to Karamoja, they can ably graze their cattle. If you come to Busoga, Uganda, Ankole, they have all different pastries. They have all different kind of crops that they can go for. The country, the government has failed to give Ugandans particular direction on particular economic activities that would assist them. I do not believe in the trend where Ugandans have gone into a retail business, because it is hugely, hugely risky. And with our productivity of industrialization here, it becomes export. I mean import. You have to do bilateral trade with other nations to sustain your personal economy. Now with our infrastructure, road infrastructure, air infrastructure, and rail infrastructure, it gives you a disadvantage from the onset in the cost of whatever you want to trade in, because Uganda is not accessible. Within, we are extremely not accessible, notwithstanding being a landlocked country. If you look at the road that comes from Busia to Kampala, or Malaba to Kampala, the one that comes from Mutukula to Kampala, those are your main routes of imports and exports. They are the worst roads. Now, you will not expect to have economic prowess where the cardinal principal factors of production has been hugely affected, and that is transport. If you look at also my expectations, of course, would be two. One, corruption. Corruption that has seeded even where we have combatants at the battlefield. When I read the letter of General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the statement on the people of Somalia, on the debacle in Somalia, one, it is true now that even deployment in Somalia has been corrupted by officers. Because the story was that many of the people in the camp were not military. As a result of sectarianism, as a result of nepotism, as a result of favoritism. Now that is the core existentiality and soul of the country, where even there is death, now look at death. People went to Somalia when they are not qualified. They were flagged off with our national flag, and it has led a catastrophe of 137 bodies on our heads. Now they are talking about 54, but to clarity, The 54 are the combatants that have been classified, and may their souls rest in peace. But still in that letter, it confirms and avers that there are those that were not related to the mission, but were benefiting from the UN allowances. Now, if corruption, one of the institutions we thought that had a grip of everything, yes, there were the junk helicopters, there were the Chinese uniforms, the left-hand boots and others, but we thought there had been progress because it is security. If you cannot take that seriously, then it means you have no institution that is working well. And if you have no institutions working well, what Honorable Komakechi is crying about here will always be a reality. You will have members of your own cabinet, a whole speaker of parliament, running an institution of parliament in connivance of stealing from the poor. How? It is absolutely nonsensical that you would find a speaker of parliament, a prime minister, a deputy prime minister, a vice president in the circles of corruption, of what they have prepared themselves. It's like a mother preparing food and stealing it from the kitchen before she serves it. This is what they did. Now, if you're going to speak to the nation and you're sitting with over 10 thieves in your own cabinet, then you have to address the country on the matters of how you will be neutral to the country in terms of corruption. Okay. Because if they are stealing from the kitchen, then there's nothing you're preparing for the country. They sit, they plan that.
For us, the movie lovers, there's that statement that we see in movies for thieves. There's honor among thieves. But anyway, you definitely bring into question security, and interesting to note that this is coming through when you do have the budget preparations.